All right, and we're back and we're about to dive into the keto brownie recipe. But before that, I want to quickly talk about this week's giveaway. So, this week's giveaway will be the ingredients that you need to make any one of these particular recipes. And to enter to win, just leave in the comments below a recipe or product or something that you would like to see us compare and contrast and do in different ways. Because I thought this was really fun. I know that you guys have been providing a lot of great ideas on what you would like to see, and a lot of them are making it onto the list of WTFs. So leave it in the comments below and enter to win. All right. Now, I know that a lot of the keto folks have been asking for, different types of keto baked goods, sweets. So we thought the brownie would be a fun one to do. When you started going into the keto brownie recipe, what did you find was the biggest challenge?
To make it look and taste like a brownie. It's difficult. It doesn't have any of the real building blocks of other than eggs, of what a brownie is. A brownie is flour based, and you can't have any of that. It also has a lot of sugar, and you can't have any of that. So really it's just figuring out and finding out where and when I can add certain things to give me that lift, that texture, the look, right? Because a lot of it comes from visual too. So we found a great way and a few ingredients that are going to help us achieve that look and give us the same, satisfying experience. Because you want to have it a little bit gooey, you still want to have that crisp, and it's like, what's going to give us that in making a brownie that's completely keto, fat and protein based. So we found some really cool things. We can actually just get right into it because we wanted to build it as similar to a regular brownie recipe would be, so that the entire experience is similar. So I have my eggs. If you wanted to, you absolutely could add liquid sunflower lecithin here. Okay. It's not mandatory. I mean, this recipe has so much fat in it, but you absolutely could add it right here.
Yeah, and I'm sure some people might have noticed that we've switched out from the stand mixer to the food processor for this.
Yes.
Why is that?
So you want to be able to process up a big part of this, which is mozzarella cheese. It's okay if you get a little spots in there that are not, but if you end up with a big clump of mozzarella cheese, you're really going to notice it. Okay. And what the mozzarella cheese brings to the party, I'll actually put it in early, what that brings to the party is for that crispy edge. So where the edges touch the pan, just as if it was pizza, where you get that kind of crisp, that's where the mozzarella cheese really comes in here, and it allows for that, just an added bit of texture where a lot of these things would be soft. So we have that, and we have a lot of different things that we're going to add in a little bit later, but let's get this going, just as we did the traditional recipe. So I'm just going to pulse this together, just until, and there's vanilla bean in here as well. So we want to, if we don't add vanilla bean or any vanilla extract, this recipe is so eggy that you will just taste eggs. And vanilla bean is a classic trick. One, because it's delicious, and two, it covers egg flavor really well. That's why it's in a lot of custards, like creme brulee and stuff like that. So mix this up. We want to blitz up that mozzarella.
And we just love fresh vanilla bean anyway.
It's wonderful.
I don't think there's many recipes where it makes it
cheese, eggs, and vanilla. Yeah, it's wonderful, right? So we have some cool things that we're going to be adding here. So I have a little bit of salt that I'm going to be adding. I can add that at this point. A little bit of espresso powder. That's also going to be just bumping up that kind of richness that we have in here. And at this point, I'm going to be adding butter and 100% chocolate. Now I can't add the 70% that we added to the traditional recipe because it has sugar in it. So we have to go complete 100% chocolate and a lot of cocoa powder to really give us that that chocolatey look and flavor. So I'll have to have this. There we go. So I'm going to pour it right down here and just make that emulsion just as I did before.
Okay, and what is the logic behind the slow drip instead of just dumping it all in?
Yeah, so we wanted to, this is a lot of water and it does have less than naturally from the eggs. If I were to add it all in at once, it wouldn't be able to cut this fat into globules and hold on to it in the nice network of water, just like making a mayonnaise and things like that. You can see how it's kind of opaque at this point too. It would be separated, it would be gritty, all those types of things. Right, and you can see in the overhead it's just so smooth and wonderful. So at this point we can add in our cream cheese. right? 100% keto. And we have our dry ingredients. So here we have a lot of allulose, and that's where our sweetness comes from.
Okay.
Allulose has the closest flavor to table sugar that were possible to find. So we have that. We're just going to add in our I'm Free Perfect Gluten Replacement structure, right? We want to hold on to all this fat so it doesn't collapse. We can have nice air pockets and things like that. This does have a bit of baking powder, right? Adding lift. And then this is a real key to this recipe is egg white powder. If I don't add the egg white powder, this recipe completely collapses. This and the I'm Free Perfect Gluten Replacement is the structure, is the airiness in this recipe, or else it is just fudge.
Yeah, I do remember when we were testing like an early version of it, I believe didn't have the egg white powder, and it was really like just kind of like a flourless chocolate cake almost.
Exactly.
It was like thin. It was still delicious, but it didn't feel like a real brownie to me.
If you want that like extremely dense, or if you wanted a fudge, just remove these two ingredients, and you're going to end up with that extremely dense, almost fudge texture. So I'm going to add this in at this point.
Okay. And is it also just a barely incorporating it, or?
Well, there's no flour, so there's no gluten. So you actually want to blend it a little bit more because of that I'm Free Perfect Gluten Replacement. You want to incorporate it as well as possible. If you don't, then you're going to end up with some pockets that are really well lifted and some that are not. And if you don't mix it enough, maybe you get a clump.
Right.
So mix this in. There's a little bit of almond flour in there as well.
Okay.
If you wanted to replace that, let's say there's a nut allergy or something like that, you can replace it with flax meal or something like that. Totally fine. Chia seeds, whatever happens to be.
Yep. And I know we already talked about baking time, but in case anyone had jumped past that part and they started on this recipe, let's just quickly talk about baking time again so that they're not like, how long do I bake this for?
Good. I'll give you a quick rundown. So all the recipes bake at 350.
Okay.
It's like a classic baking temperature here in America, right? This one is about 20 to 25 minutes. It's the shortest of the bunch. This is 25 to 50 minutes, and the one on the end, which is the gluten-free, goes the longest because you want to pull out as much moisture with that as possible because it does tend to collapse, right? So that's about 35 minutes is the minimum there.
All right.
So we have this here, and this is going to be like the lightest of the batters.
Oh, look how smooth and
Yeah, and you're going to get a nice smoothness from this, but you also, that's why you get that nice smooth top and everything, right? So Jane, if you want to try one.
I do. This is our keto brownie. And this is delicious.
Right? It's pretty surprising. We can actually show it off here. It has nothing that really gives brownies what they usually have, but everything else in there makes it feel and look and taste like a brownie. So that's why I'm really happy with it.
Yep, it's obviously very chocolatey. It's sweet, but it's also light. And honestly, if we were just doing a blind taste test and I didn't know this was a keto brownie, I would not be able to tell this is a keto brownie. Like, it just tastes like a brownie.
Like, even if you come over here, like, you can see like the snap that you get from the edge of it is very similar to a regular brownie. You get a bit of crispness, which is a nice, break in all the chewiness.
Yeah, I'm not getting egg flavor. I'm not getting cheese flavor.
Yeah. And there's no sugar.
Yeah, it's really, really, really good. So I think this one might actually be my favorite for so far. So now we've covered both the classic and the keto brownie. I know we're not going to walk through the gluten-free brownie on this episode, but of course I did want to spend a little time talking about it, because if you can see here, this is actually I think the best looking of the brownies, right? It's got the most structure. It looks super cakey. It's definitely has all this gooey volume. Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about how we made that happen? Because when I think gluten-free, I usually think dense. Like that's the first thing that comes to mind.
The thing is, it runs through the same kind of steps that we have here. I do like the texture on that because of the I'm Free Perfect baking flour has some rice flour in it, and I like that it almost adds like a bit of crispness to every bite. It does become very gooey. It looks wonderful, and I do love the gluten-free brownie. It's one of my favorites, and sometimes we make them, or when I first definitely made them, I gave them to people, and they they had no idea. And that's kind of what you want, is you want these to just be a good brownie.
Yes.
Doesn't matter if it's keto, gluten-free, regular, it's just got to be a good brownie. And all three of these are good brownie recipes.
Yeah, I like the structure on this one, and I like it's very, very moist, and it's got all the chocolatey stuff, but again, it's light. Like that's one of the things we're looking for. That ironically, we went for the most dense in our classic, and made it the most fudgy. But this is also a delicious brownie. They're all great. Check out the recipes in the links in the description below. Remember to enter to win. And until next week, from here in the Modernist Pantry Test Kitchen, I'm Janie Wang.
And I'm Scott Gary.